This is the Simpit. I'm your host, Shaun, and today we're off to California to Autoclub Speedway for the 6th and final racing week of the season in the iRacing NASCAR Fixed Truck Series. And on today's show, I have once again asked for some help from my buddy Andrew Fayash to help find some of the secret of speed at California Speedway. But before I do, I want to express the magnitude of this week's racing to come. At the beginning of this, I had set a goal of a top 20, maybe a top 10 overall in Division 3. If you look back on my exact words from that date, here's what I had to say. So we'll focus on that to see what we can learn from each week as we're pursuing our goal. I'd like to say I want to be the champion. That's a lofty goal, champion of Division 3. I don't think I can get there, but I'd like to see if I can get in the top 20, maybe even into the top 10, but it's going to take a lot of work, and you're going to be able to see me do it each week in 2 different sessions. And I want to tell you that I took that goal very seriously. Now this week, going into the racing, iRacing has made some adjustments to the points. This accounts for the drop week in the season, and there would be 1 race per season that would be dropped altogether, meaning they're going to score the top 5 out of 6 races completed. At the end of last week, I looked at the points and I was actually 15th place overall, and I was pretty optimistic for those goals. After the dropped week, I've dropped to 21st place, and that means that it's going to put a lot of pressure on me to perform this week in order to move up into the top 20 or have any chances of the top 10. Now, as it stands, I'm 39 points outside of the top 10 right now, and with some really good finishes this week, I could break into that top 10. That means this week's race is going to have to pay me more points than I've accomplished any week this season so far. So let's take a good look at Autoclub Speedway, aka California Speedway as many people will still call it. It is located on the outskirts of Los Angeles in sunny Southern California. The track is a low-banked, D-shaped oval that measures in at 2 miles long. Autoclub Speedway has variable degrees of banking on both ends of the track, with each end being slightly different. Turns 1 and 2 are a bit sharper and have a more severe amount of baking to accommodate that. Turns 3 and 4 are a bit wider and a little bit flatter, but both ends offer high-speed entry into the corners. The track was built as a clone to its sister track, Michigan, and both of them offer high-speed, multiple-line driving ability. When I met up with Andrew for some coaching, before we even got going, he wanted to make one adjustment that he had noticed over the last 5 weeks, and that was my restarts, my terrible restarts, and he thought he could make one adjustment or point something out to me that would help a lot moving forward this week. He had me start behind him in a mock start of the race on the backstretch, and then after doing that, we reversed positions and did it again. He asked me to watch the replays and see if I could figure out the blatantly obvious difference. I'm sure that you've already seen the big difference, but in case you didn't, you could see that I had a tendency to leave a huge gap between me and the truck prior to the start. Andrew closes that gap up much tighter, and when you multiply that by acceleration, it is half of the battle on my restarts. That and the obvious of reaction time. We then moved on to Autoclub and searching for the optimal line. Andrew started off with some basic generalizations about Autoclub, and that for the most part it was about getting off the corners fast here. The corners are fast, but the straights are long and even faster. So for the best lap times, you will want to sacrifice mid-corner speed to get a good exit here. Once again, we started out with me just watching Andrew as he warmed up and figured out the truck and track combination. We then let me get a few laps under my belt so that I also had the feeling. Then we did a lead follow with me trailing Andrew. He would explain the marks that he was hitting, describing the turn-in, talking about his on and off gas points, and when he picks the throttle back up. I quickly learned that California can be driven on almost any driving line. Granted, the optimal line is fastest, but you could easily drive the truck all the way around the high line or low line without too much danger. After a handful of laps, I had the driving line down for the most part. However, I was still having a bit of trouble with when to get back onto the gas. I found myself not waiting long enough and causing a push from mid-corner out. This required a bit more patience from me and a smoother application of the throttle. I was also turning in a bit too late for turn 3. The track would let me get away with it, but I was losing speed and leaving the door open for passes to come during races. A few more adjustments to my driving line by Andrew and I was starting to get it. When driving California, you are using a combination of steering wheel and gas pedal to make the truck do what you want. The truck can be both tight and loose at different times depending on how you drive it. Coming off at turn 2, if you gas it too hard and you're using too much wheel input, the truck will spin fairly quickly. However, if you just carry a little too much speed from the middle of the corner out, it's easy to find the truck doesn't want to turn and it will hit the wall coming off of the corners. Heading into turn 1, it seems that you want to enter on a high line. You'll drop your throttle down to about 1/3 while on new tires, but later in the runs, you will find yourself coming all the way out of the gas. When done well, the truck is really happy in turn 1, and if you had to come all the way off the gas, you can bring it back to a third or mid-throttle by mid-corner. If done smoothly and at the right time, you will find the gas pedal will actually help the truck turn down low for the exit out of 2. When traction is achieved, you will find the truck turn for the backstretch early and be able to roll on from mid-throttle all the way up to full. The entry into turn 3 is taken from a medium to high approach, but not as late as turn 1. It will require a full drop of the gas pedal to let the truck turn in for the corner. By the 1/3 of the halfway mark of the corner, you will be able to slightly bring back the gas. You want just enough gas to let the truck keep that same medium line all the way around the corner. From this spot, it seems like you can get a good amount of traction, but too much throttle will again push you out towards the wall. As we exit 4, we will be as low as possible, but likely pushing up towards that wall like I mentioned. As we exit 4, we'll try to keep our truck as low as possible, and then coming to the line, you want to aim for the yellow line of the dogleg to complete the lap. I started to find consistency and decent lap times, now running in the 41.2 to 41.4 driving range. I still had room for improvement, but it was more a matter of car control and laps under my belt, not a matter of my driving line or what I was doing right or wrong out on the track. From there we moved into some offense and defense scrimmage, so to speak, and Andrew showed me how to deal with cars attempting to make the pass high or low. With multiple driving lines and styles, you will find people trying to take away the low line from you, and you will have to defend against this move at California. He showed me how to run the high line, but also keeping that low line truck as low as possible so that they can't get a good run off the corner. He also showed me how to do a crossover by letting the low line truck go by if you sense that they are going too fast and are likely to push up the track. But what was most important was his reminder of how easy it is to get caught up on racing one truck and letting the trucks ahead of you get even further away. He also warned me that the longer I can keep the truck low coming off of 2 and 4, the better it will be in a pack, as others will continue to get more push as the race goes on. And that takes us to the last point that he made about Autoclub, that tire wear is very insignificant, and the fall off isn't that bad. The truck will continue to get tighter throughout the run, and recognizing that and driving within the limits of the tires will pay off well. If I start to push going into the corners, then I'm going in too hot and I need to back it down a touch. I need to remember that speed here is found on exit, not by pushing wide on entry into the corners. So now it was time for me to lay down a qualifying run and get ready for this week's racing. Starting off on pit lane, you want to take your truck right up to the high line and run that all the way turns 1 and 2. You want to make sure to prevent any tire spin or touching the wall as you do this. Heading into turn 3, again, we want to take the high but conservative line. It's okay to come lower by mid-corner as long as we are focusing on leaving 4 with as much speed as possible for our first time lap. I like to stay fairly wide if I can maintain traction and stay up high coming down the front stretch past the dogleg. This time we are making our first time lap and we'll be entering turn 1 very high and late, and we'll be entering the corner at about 186 miles per hour. Right at about the number 2 marker on the right, I begin my turn in and reduce my gas to about 1/3 throttle smoothly. If all goes well, you could rest at 1/3 throttle from the 1/3 mark to the middle of the corner. At mid-corner, we will have dropped to about 163 miles per hour. You can begin to add a little more gas. This should take your truck even lower as the rear end starts to turn the truck. The truck will keep angling for a late apex, and at about the 2/3 mark, you should be able to apply full throttle slowly. There is plenty of corner to use up if you have held the truck low and can let it roll out towards the wall. Coming off the backstretch, we enter turn 3 at about 183 miles per hour. I begin this turn in right before the white stripe on the bottom of the outside wall, and I smoothly reduce my gas to 0 as the truck finds its line about midway up the track. By mid-corner, I am still off the gas as the truck drops down to 160 at its slowest, still midway up the track. At this point, I can gradually bring the throttle up to half, carefully searching for the balance point that keeps the truck tracking on that line. By the time you have a handle on things, you can increase the throttle full and do everything you can to avoid swinging out for the wall. We exit turn 4 and aim for the apron at the line for the optimal lap, or to the yellow line if you are running a second lap. Being a little off the pace and running a 41.613, I knew I was running a second lap and ran down on the yellow line. I had to now swing out wide to make my entry into turn 1. But from there, everything is the same, and here is that lap at full speed. I finished my final lap by running down on the apron to cut the track that much shorter and record a 41.431, about 2/10 off of what I really wanted to run, but good enough to start the week's racing. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, this is a very important week of racing. This is the week that I'm going to have to bring my A game. This is the week that I'm going to have to score major points, or at least hopefully score major points. I hope this has helped you out if you're searching for speed at Autoclub Speedway. If you have any questions or comments on this video or any of the videos from this series, please head over to thesimpit.com and I'll do my best to answer each and every one of your comments and questions there. This is the Simpit. I'm Shaun Cole, and I'll see you on the track.